Okay, so this is episode 4 of Matlock. Anyway, so this was an interesting episode. I do love the back and forth between Maddie and Olympia. I can't wait till they regain trust in each other and, really work to take down Senior as opposed to the enemy of my enemy's my friend vibe that they're doing right now. But anyway, this episode had 3 plots. Well, or 4. 3 plots. The case, their attempt to take down Senior, and it's juxtaposed with Alfie and Ellie and memories that come flooding back to Maddie. So, well, 2 of the plots basically, like I said, commingle, so I can't separate those 2. So let's start. Oh yeah, the 4th one is the ultrasound for Claudia. So let me get the Claudia one out of the way, because that's the least interesting. So Billy is excited for the ultrasound because, then it's becoming more real for him. And Sarah is very annoyed because she doesn't want to lose Billy. She wants their relationship to remain the same and for him to be as focused on work as she is. Which, I get it. Anyone who, whether by choice or not, is single, it does feel like you're losing your friend, or in this case, coworker and friend, knowing that their time is going to be tied up with other things, that they're going to have other priorities, not you. So I do get that. But, it's really showing how, I mean, it comes across as jealousy, but we know she's not actually interested in Billy. It's just, she's jealous that she would have to share Billy with someone else. Which is strange because last season, before Claudia dumped him, she was super excited for him to be, to get on with this chapter of his life, to get engaged, get married. So I don't know if she just didn't think things through, or because it's suddenly become really real for her. But yeah, she was being a bit of a brat this episode. And it ended with her, going to give Billy his quarter, that, or whatever it was, that is supposed to be a good luck for Claudia, and the ultrasound. And when she sees the ultrasound, that's when it hits her that this is actually real. This is actually happening. And suddenly, I wouldn't say she changes her tune exactly, but it's sort of like, once it became real for her, it's like she, accepted it. And she was happy for them. But at the same time, this whole episode was about her understanding it's real, but at the same time not wanting to share Billy. So it's very bizarre. But anyway, to the case. Let's do the case next. So the case is a wrongful death, and the lawyer for the company, as usual, he claims that, oh, I feel bad that this happened, and you wonder, do you really? Does it really bother you? But maybe it does. Maybe he truly does feel bad that a man lost his life in a flood. So the whole thing was about them taking down the company and realizing that this isn't what people think it is. Like the lawyer claiming that, oh, he was old, he was retirement age. Okay, which you could see really pissed off Maddie because, hello, she's older than this Frank was supposed to be. He was only 73, and I think Kathy Bates, if she isn't 80, she's damn near close. So yeah, that did not sit well with Maddie. And so they're trying to figure out how to win this case. Oh, the manager left early. So he left even before the sirens went off for the flood. So maybe we can get him on not malpractice, but and turns out he left because of his daughter, and it pissed me the hell off. And I'm sure it pissed off Olympia that he is tugging at their heartstrings about his daughter and her handicap and blah, blah, blah. It's like, wait a minute. Didn't you say you didn't want to prejudice the jury with the grieving widow's testimony? And now you're pulling this shit? So, and this is all juxtaposed with Maddie and Olympia looking over each other's emails and texts and all that because they don't trust each other. But at least they know it. And I found it amusing. It's like, come here, gimme, let me look. And it's just, it was comical, but also how much they could get accomplished if they stopped this. So, she, found out. Now this is where I have to get into the other storylines. So, the other storyline was, the other two storylines was Maddie meeting with Deborah and putting on makeup on her face as if she was already a corpse, which I know that was supposed to be comical, but that was just disturbing. Even though Olympia was fine, she was just staring at him, but Alfie and Edwin were cracking the hell up. I'm surprised she didn't deck at least Edwin. Obviously, she's not going to deck Alfie. And even hearing about Billy doing the ultrasound reminded her of Ellie. Alfie saying that Joey has something to live for now. Well, technically, so did Ellie. Now, what I find to be a bit unbelievable in this whole scenario is she went back to using while still pregnant. Last I checked, that is going to have an effect on the baby. We don't see anything with Alfie. Now, if she had started using after he was born, I would have no problem. But it sounded like she started using again while still pregnant. Alfie should be feeling some effects. But anyway. So, and, Maddie is not coming off as very, um, as very, what's the word? Very, sympathetic. Because even though Ellie didn't start using, like, the night that they sang karaoke at her baby shower, and she caught her mom trying to look at her pupils and getting upset at her, pointing out that her friend from high school, who is also a junkie, was at the baby shower. And now I understand that she's concerned that Ellie was using again. I totally get that. But the way she went about it was just, it wouldn't surprise me if at some point we find out that Ellie started using again, not because she was hanging out with her junkie friends or whatever, but because her insufferable mother was being insufferable and it led her to doing drugs. And that's one of the reasons why Maddie is so insistent. And she alluded to it last season, with the overdose, that she must have pushed her too hard. So a part of her is aware that her behavior might have led to the situation. But I wonder if they aren't going to show more reasons why Maddie is as big of a part of her relapsing as that study, Brexa study that Julian hid to show the addictive effects of that particular opiate, because of her whole behavior. So one of the other ways she was thinking about Ellie was Deborah. So they talk, and Maddie is able to find out enough about Deborah and her trip to Australia with Senior that she was able to convince Cindy that they had met in Sydney. And so they meet up, and Maddie is not exactly being very sly about trying to get information about Senior, which Deborah suddenly clams up and tries to change the subject, which they later discover is probably because of an NDA. And so now they have to figure out how to prove that. And that Senior probably has a lot of those, because as we all know, only up and up people force others to sign an NDA. So, and one of the things she thinks about, like I said, is the fact that Ellie had, a reason not to use. And I'm like, Alfie, your own mother died of an overdose. It's not like she didn't have you. She still died. Why are you so convinced that your father is going to beat this addiction? And he wants to fix motorcycles because that's what he thinks his father was doing. He's reading the 12-step book. Not sure why. They're really making it sound like he's getting ready to move in with his dad after he finishes rehab. Which leads me to think that either they're going to write Alfie off or Joey isn't surviving the season. Because you know that Maddie is going to get what she wants. And what she wants is Alfie. She does not want to give him up. Now, whether Joey was clean and sober, if she would have been more willing to give him up, I don't know. Because she sounds super duper controlling. But anyway, so she's not hiding that she wants dirt on Senior, that she's trying to get information. And that's when they come up with this idea, Olympia suggests therapy, which, yes, I happen to agree with her 100%. And she comes over all these things that she's tried. And one of the things she said was moral inventory, which got Olympia thinking about the manual at that workplace. And they don't tell us what she found until they are in court again. And the fact is that one of the requirements, which they claim that Frank could not pull off anymore, was lift 50 pounds. Well, it turns out the sandbags way more than that. And he was able to lift those. So they played that. So they were finally able to play that recording, which earlier the opposing lawyer tried to get struck because, that's just tugging on their heartstrings for no reason. So that she found an excuse to play it. So, the fact that, he can't lift anymore. He, really shouldn't have been working there anymore, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out that, like I said, they played the recording where he said that he's, picking up pallets of sandbags, which are supposed to weigh 10 pounds more than is required for the job to lift. So they win the case, and the widow gets $500,000. And then things get interesting. So Julian wants to quit because his father's just coming up with ways to humiliate him. And this one is him walking around with an IT guy. They're changing their security system and they're working with compliance to make sure that people, so they won't have a mole problem anymore. Which is fine. And it turns out that when he was doing that job, it turns out that he found something better. He turned away when when Stuart, the assistant, was typing in a new password. It's like not helpful, but he discovered Emmeline's laptop. And that laptop contained emails between her and Maddie. So he's figuring out that she's somehow connected to this. Now, Olympia is freaking out. Maddie looks concerned. My question is, they're doing this to save Julian's ass. They're both wanting to take down Senior. Olympia convinced Maddie that let's not concentrate on Julian, let's concentrate on Senior, because he ultimately is the one who is to blame. Why not rope in Julian? Why make this, we're in trouble? Julian knows that there's a connection. He thinks that you're somehow connected to the mole. which she is the mole, but why not just rope him in? Why not just tell him, okay, this is what's happening. Yes, Maddie is the mole, and this is why. And I don't know if Olympia thinks that there is still some part of Julian that would run to Daddy and narc on Maddie. Because I would think that since they're trying to help him with this whole incident, I would think that they would, want Julian on their side. But it sounds like they don't, which I just find bizarre, especially since they already made a deal that Julian is going to apologize to her, to Edwin, to Alfie for what he did, which if this is a personal thing, you would think that he would be made aware then. So why not just fill him in? So that just, I fear that we're going down drama for drama's sake route, which I'm not happy about at all. Let's see if there's anything else about this episode I wanted to mention. Let's see here. Let's see. We covered the backstory, covered Deborah, covered the pregnancy, covered the case. Yeah, I think we covered all the storylines. So, with that, I will see you guys in the next video.